Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expat Coffee Break, a show dedicated to sharing personal experiences of immigrants and telling the stories of what it's like to live abroad. This time, I have part two of my conversation with my friend Martin, where we're going to be talking about what was it like when we first relocated. In the part two, we're going to be talking about what was it like to get credit, find an apartment, a little bit of what the family was like, what a little bit of how the spouse felt moving us with us. And yeah, well, without further ado, I'll leave you with it. Enjoy. Anyway, but finally got my driver's test, and only after almost 4 weeks, I was able to, because I already had the driver's license. When I got it, the paper that you get in the mail, that's when you can do your stuff to buy a car. In my case, I didn't go through credit. We can start talking about credit now if you want. I didn't want to buy a car with credit because I wasn't willing to pay the prime for not having credit history. So credit in the US is a big thing, just like in every other country that has some sort of credit system. But here the particularity is that they have a very specific 3 digits system. So you get a number that rates your score. And because I just moved in, my score was zero or the lowest possible. And I went to the dealer. I was asking for a lease car, like the ones that they announced on the TV for $200 a month. And I thought, yeah, I want one of that. And they told me, yeah, not for you. You're not a good guy because you didn't have credit. And I couldn't get it. So I decided, you know what? I'm not willing to pay double the price. And I wasn't really looking. I guess I could have tried to find a solution like you did, because you were able to find something that works more for expats. But I wasn't willing to pay for credit. And I just bought a used car. I just bought the least expensive thing that was still a reliable vehicle. And I still drive that thing to this day.
Yeah, so in my case, what I did is I did some digging in internet. So I found a place which is called Land Boost. So they market these professional expats. So they focus on people that are from abroad, and the company from US bring them in, and they require like a letter from Bosch, in my case from Bosch or from the employer, and how much, and they rate you depending on how much money you earn, and they offer a good deal for us as a Mexican. Is very good deal because I remember that it was around 7.5% of interest rate for 3 years.
Compared to the rates in Mexico
In
for a new
Mexico
car,
for a new, and it's for a
pre-owned.
pre-owned. So if it's a new, it's a little bit lower. But in Mexico for a pre-owned, it's around 15%, and for a new
If you're
one,
lucky.
and if it's a new one, it's around 11. So those are the different. So as soon as I find out, okay, it's okay. So they were very flexible. I didn't have a lot of trouble with them. So I submit all the paperwork that I have at that time, and I don't know, within 1.5 week the response. So I went to the dealership to the car that and it was very that it was very easy because I went to the dealership. I see the car that I wanted, and my wife wanted too, and then I provide the documents. So the dealership, I remember that they asked me for my social security number, and then I say why. Because we might give you a better offer, and okay. And they do, okay, no, you can go. You
You got the
can,
best
yeah,
offer
so
you
you
can
get
get.
the best offer. So we
Of
cannot
course, because
offer.
if they were able to give you the credit, then they can make money on the credit and on the car. Double dipping.
Exactly. So they offer me that, and that's why I was telling, like, 1 week prior to my appointment on the DMV. I already went through all the paperwork for the car. So the car, it was ready, and were ready at that time. So the funds already went through the banking account of the dealership. So the dealership, okay, you can pick up this afternoon, and I was doing the driver test in the morning. So
So you already you already had a car already paid, and you started the credit, but
Hmm.
you didn't have the driver's license.
Exactly. So it was very stressful
And
for
you
me.
in the end you managed to
Oh,
do it in the three
and in
days.
order, sorry, and in order to do the credit, or in order to have the funds for from Lembus to get the car, I need to have the insurance, and it's when I start panic about, because I didn't have the
Such a
driver license at that time.
mm,
So what happened there is I found Progressive, and Progressive offered me an special. I don't know if it's special or not, but
yeah.
for people that came that they don't have immediately driver license, they can use Progressive.
We
Mhm.
should be getting sponsored by
Yeah.
Progressive, Wells Fargo, and
Yes.
Lens whatever, well,
Land
Lens
boost.
Boots,
Land boost.
Land Boost.
Mhm.
We're not. What's going on? Hey, hook us up, guys. Yeah, I'm. So we talk about pretty much the first 30 days already, right?
Mhm.
Was there anything else that you went through those first 30 days that you felt was
Well,
stressful?
finding an apartment as well, even though we
Right.
already know. So right now that I looking back, is eh, the place that we choose for two things. One, it was because it was close to the office, and the second
Mm-hmm.
one was because you and Iris went here.
Yeah,
So it was easy, like having someone that
you
are
know.
related or are familiar with us. It would be best. But I don't know. It depending of your needs, but you can do a little bit more of digging, and you did a very 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 big, I don't know, digging of
Yeah.
places.
Yeah, but my needs were different from you.
Mm-hmm.
So for in my case, I started my search actually during that first trip that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
that you before moving, they pay for a trip for you to come over and basically see the city, know the area, and make a decision. Do you really want to make a move or not? And we did that in the summer, and we take advantage of those 2 weeks to go drive around and just look for rentals and see the places
Mm-hmm.
and decide what we want and what we like and understand the prices. Um, so we did all of that, and I did a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, and we did a scoring system where we just trying to find the best balance for how much and what they're offering. And in the end, we came with with a list of the apartments. And for us, this was, well, not this place that we're living right now because we moved recently, but the first place where we were living, the apartment you saw during your trip for getting to know the city,
Mm-hmm.
that place was the best for the money I was willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
A one bedroom apartment with everything we wanted, but my needs are different. If I would have been on your situation with a family, I would have maybe asked, try to look for a house.
Yeah.
Because
Well, house.
I know you talked about that before, and you're thinking maybe I should have gone for a house.
Yeah. Well, maybe for a house, but it's very expensive, the rent for a house.
Yes,
So maybe a townhouse
a
that
townhouse.
is very close to a house. So it's in a mix between an apartment and a house,
Yeah,
because you still are connected with other people,
yeah.
but you have your own place. So yes, I think the best that you can get out of a rental money is a townhouse at the beginning. From my experience, if you have family,
Yeah,
because you have more space, you have more bedrooms. So in our apartment I think
it's very big.
it's a very good deal, and it's big for us. But if we have visitors,
Yeah,
mhm,
we live. Well, we were able to have our my mom and my mother-in-law visit
mhm,
us in this two-bedroom apartment, and well, we were missing one bedroom, of course,
mhm,
because my wife and I had to sleep in the living room on a couch.
yeah,
But otherwise, space-wise, the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom size, everything is good
mhm,
for I'll say maybe 3 4 person family.
yeah,
It's a good size.
mhm.
But yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do when you move to the
And
U.S.
you are not familiar with that, so it has you get surprised by the perks that you have on the apartment, because you have a very nice area to do party, which is not a no extra cost. Or you have the grill that are downstairs, you have the pool.
In the case of the apartments that we chose, not
Yes,
every
exactly,
apartment has that.
exactly. So well, it depended of the price, or the area
Yeah,
where you want to live. And I remember that I want the other reason that I want to live in Apple Valley, which is the place that we live in, is because I hear it's Apple Valley, Rosemount, and Burnsville is because I heard that the school district is
Hmm.
very good for my kid, and I didn't know if I want to explore some other places at that particular time. So I was looking for a reasonable place. I remember that I was my goal it was to expend less money that I'm actually expending right now, but you adapt, I guess,
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing you can do because, well,
and you don't know.
you don't know the place, you don't know the city, you
Hmm.
don't have a credit to get a mortgage and buy a
No,
house,
no, that will be
and so
out of the.
that's out of the question.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about pretty much settling in the first 30 days. Let me
Yes,
look at.
and as you mentioned, besides of that, you have to. Well, I was in my learning process. I was trying to get the best out of my work. So I know when I remember that I was feeling the pressure because I still feeling like I am the new guy there, and I have a lot of things to learn because I'm packed with all tech only technical people like engineers that like they will design everything out of the speaker, and the main focus is to do calculations like for mechanicals, electrical, and stuff like that. So I was trying to get at that pace, and at the same time I was feeling the pressure because I have family. I need to find a place to live, I need to find a car to drive. So it was I was feeling very anxious. And the good thing is that in this case my boss, he was very open.
Mhm.
So he always offered like you take all the time that you need to settle down. But I didn't want to take all the time that I need to settle down because I feel the responsibility to be here.
Yeah, so there's definitely a pressure to perform at work
Mm-hmm.
because they're giving you all of this support
Mm-hmm.
and they're spending all of this money for you to move here. So you definitely want to make sure that you're paying back or making their money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that pressure, but also there's that personal family pressure where you cannot be one all of the time at work and you have to be with your family at
especially
the same
because
time of working all of the documentation and trial tribulation settling in.
especially because you are responsible for the other person. So and in my case that I'm responsible for my little one, and I'm responsible for my wife,
Yeah.
and they don't have any experience as well here, so they don't know. My wife didn't know how to drive. My didn't have a driver license. She took a while in order to have that. And well, my little one, he doesn't care, so
He doesn't
he's
give a
happy with it. Yeah.
He's just happy.
Yeah, but I need to feed him. I need to find a place to.
Yeah. You
So
need to make sure he's healthy. You need to
exactly.
find a doctor for him. You need
Hmm.
to make sure he's well fed. So let's talk about that because I felt that pressure as well. And I also went through some, I mean, I didn't realize it until afterwards, but that pressure on my family, in this case, my wife, when relocating, there was this thing that made, um, it felt like a depression. It felt like she was always not wanting to do things because it was so daunting and so intimidating. So she was like, nah, I'll just stay indoors. Nah, I don't want to go out. Nah, it's too cold. No, you do it. You do the paperwork. No, you do that. And so I had to basically carry both of us throughout the entire documentation process
Hmm.
and just be patient because, I mean, in my case, I didn't realize that until quite a lot until after we moved, but I had a place to go to work. I was able to see new faces, new people.
Hmm.
So my mind was busy all day, and I came back home after work, and I was exhausted, and I was just wanted to sit down and relax. And she was, well, what are we gonna do now?
Hmm.
Are we going out? I wanted to see. I mean, she was waiting for me to come back to do something because she had nothing to do when she was here. Only meets her family and meets her friends back home and communicating with them over the phone. And so it was very complicated the first month, not the first 30 days. So the first 30 days were crazy, but then after that came the calm, like it was a calm storm where personally I didn't felt it, but my wife didn't definitely felt this. It's not. It wasn't a. She wasn't depressed. She wasn't going through a really rough, because of course really there are some worst mental issues
Yeah,
that I
no.
don't think my wife was going through that, but she was having a really hard time adjusting to a new place and missing everyone and everywhere at the same time and learning everything that she had to learn. And I felt that she had a lot of resistance that I just didn't have the opportunity, because I just went head on and just forget about everything and adjusted right away. How was that experience for you? And I mean, of course, your kid didn't care at all. He was just happy. He doesn't care about moving right now. But how was your experience with your wife having through all of that?
So it was a little bit similar that you explained with yours. So what happened is that, well, and she explained me like now I think she's sober with. So
Mm-hmm.
right now she feels like very different as how we start. And the reason that she gave me is like you have a reason to go. So you are the reason that they brought you here. You have a place to go. In this case, my work, and I call her a workaholic. When we were in Mexico, she was used to carry her own money. She was very, very, very independent. So she money wise, she didn't need me. So
Mm-hmm.
she can do all things by her own. So when we came here, she how can I explain? She feel like at the beginning it was very difficult to us because she wasn't used to receive money from me, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
or buying her clothes. Like
Mm-hmm.
if she want clothes, she go directly to the store and she buy with her own money, with her own car, and we move on. So at that regards, it was very, I don't know, it was very individual. In here, I remember when we went to the store, the first week that we arrived, I was trying to get her clothes, proper clothes, and she was not feeling like,
She wasn't comfortable
yes, like,
you spending money.
exactly. So she was not comfortable at all. And then she feels a little bit, I think it was more family related because she normally feel, she is very in tune, or she's very
Attach.
attached to her family. So all Sundays we spend with her grandpa and grandma, and it's the first time that she went out of the her own city, no, only out of the country.
Yeah.
So she was feeling very, very difficult, and she doesn't have, at that time she didn't have a goal. So right now, for instance, we are waiting for her permit to work so that she can start working and experience some of the working here in the US. And she already get to the driver license. She already went through the social security number with me at that time, but it took her a while. So I
Yeah.
think she didn't want she didn't want to come to live here to the US, so it was a kind of a resistance for her,
Mm-hmm.
uh, especially because especially because of her family, and because of her individual status that she used to have.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, trying to put myself in her shoes, she lost a lot of things that define her. She was a very independent woman,
Mm,
financially, and she lost all of that because she had to leave her career behind to move here and be a full time stay home mom.
mm-hmm.
That's the term,
Yeah.
and she wasn't used to that.
Mm-hmm.
Something similar happened to my wife, except we don't have a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and she left her career behind for a third time or
Mm-hmm.
fourth time. I can't remember now,
Mm-hmm.
because we moved for my job again. It wasn't the first time, of course. And not only that, she moved even farther away from her family, and a new language, well, relatively new place, new everything.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, my wife was very independent and financially as well. We were very open about our finances, and we will share everything, and we will share expenses. but she was used to not if she needed makeup, she needed clothing, she wanted to go out with friends. She didn't need me for anything for money. And now, when we first moved, I'm the kind of person that I'm very always budgeting and
Mm-hmm.
I'm always managing our finances. And so I want to be very controlled with our budget. And so when she asked me money, I was like, what do you want that for? And she would took that as, well, if you don't want to give me money, then no, just to forget about it. I'm like, no, it's not that. I just want to know because I want to know where the money is going because I keeping track of everything. And so she would take that the wrong way. But then she started working, I think a year afterwards, because it took a while of adjusting. And this is a piece of advice for people that are listening to this podcast that are, might go through this experience of relocating for work. You as a professionist, you will have something to do. The
Mm-hmm.
Your spouse, your family won't. They will leave things behind following you for the opportunity you're going to take advantage of. So keep in mind it's going to take some adjustment time for them. And the sooner they can find something to stay themselves busy, the better. If it's going to be being a full time mom, if it's going to be finding schools, or it's going to be going to school for doing a major degree, or if it's going to be finding a job, whatever it is, the faster they get busy, the better. In my case, my wife's case, it took almost a year to go over the hump of go, just getting out of the house and do find a job. And because it's very daunting, it might sound very simple for somebody that some people might, a year? What are you talking about? You took a year to find a job? What a lazy person. Keep in
Yeah.
mind, I mean, somebody that is going through this experience is a very daunting experience. If you never left your hometown before, or if you were never used to live away from your
Mm-hmm.
family, they take that all of that away from you because you're following your spouse, you're following your partner. It takes some adjustment time.
Yeah, and you have to be patient,
Yeah,
and you have to
exactly.
be very supportive because you don't know what they are going through. Because sometimes for us it's easy because I think mainly because we have something to do and it's something
Hmm.
we're related.
Yeah.
So from the other side, I think I feel like this it was a bless for my family in two things because as soon as we moved to a new apartment in March,
Hmm.
like 2 weeks later, the pandemic hit.
Oh yeah.
So home office and all.
Yeah.
So that become a bless in the way that before of that, Diana used to work a lot. I used to work a lot. So at least 7 to 5, and both of us, and we have time for my little one only from 5 to I don't know whatever he sleep. But we went to doing some extra stuff. So he went to her no, she went to her mom and spent time over there because it's when mom was sick at that time. And it was very all the stress of that we carry over the work, all the stress that we carry over whatever happened at that time, plus working extra hours because she was from human resources. So there were certain dates like in December or particular day that she has to go over another city to cover some Christmas parties and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I remember that we barely spend time together is where I'm going.
Hmm.
So with the pandemic, with
Before moving here.
before moving here.
Hmm.
So by moving here, we start like knowing each other in another layer. and and it was good. For me it was a bless because I it took me time to know her better. So it's like from my perspective, I don't know how she feels, but from my perspective, our love grow because we have difficult times like trying to learn about how she feels by not having that individual part and then be full-time mom because it's very 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 challenged to be full-time mom or
Hmm.
full-time dad. And because otherwise we have like break time from 7 to 5 because we have to work, so someone else it was taking care of our little one. Now we both of us, because we only have ourselves, we taking care, like the last 2 years we've been only Diana and myself taking care of our little one. We didn't
Hmm.
go to movies, we didn't go to restaurants because of the pandemic and because we have our little one. So that was a blessing. The other thing is when things get difficult, the only thing that we have or that we suffer here in the US in our with our current employer is that they cut a little bit of our paycheck for a few months, but we still have our work. So I think for that part it was a very grateful time. And I think for Diana as well. And she also said like that time it was like a vacation for her
Mhm.
because il- from the last 11 years, 10 years, she was fully working, fully focused on only work, 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 and no time for her. So now she knows I think she knows what she wants. So she explore both of the lives, like being a homestay mom or being a professional or a work mom.
Mhm.
So she knows what she wants now, and I don't
Yeah, yeah. In our case, the pandemic hit a year after
know. Mm-hmm.
we moved to the U.S. and it hit at the time where my wife was ready to go out and start working.
Mm-hmm.
So the pandemic last year for us was a great year because we were so busy. It went really fast. My wife started working, and that at that time we only had one car. And when the pandemic started a few weeks after she started working, so the first days when she was working, we were sharing the car, and now she was driving me work to work, and then she was taking the car for the rest of the day and picking me up in the afternoon. So we're starting going through that routine. And fortunately, the pandemic hit. And so I started working from home. And she was still going out to work. She was working at a restaurant at Chipotle.
Mm-hmm.
She was working as a cashier, only part time. But that gave her enough confidence to get out and practice her English. And her English really improved. She's a very introvert person. So that really helped her to get out there and get going. And then after a little bit later, we decided to start doing a little bit of extra income because as you mentioned, we got a bit of a pay cut
Mm-hmm.
and we just wanted to make up for that and just a little bit of an extra. So we started delivering meals on DoorDash and Grubhub, and we spent the better part of that year just delivering meals and doing a little bit of an extra income. With the money we made from that, we bought a second car,
Mm-hmm.
and which is the one she drives now to work. Um, and yeah, so it took her a year of adjusting and just learning and accepting the reality of just getting out there and getting herself confidence to do whatever she needed to do. Now she's just very independent from me. She makes her own money. She's comfortable living around here. We were making a little bit more because of her job, and so we took a bigger place because now that I'm working from home all the time, I needed a space. So we
Mm-hmm.
got this new apartment which has a second bedroom, which is the one we're in, and that's my office actually. And so to summarize this topic about family and about the pressure, and that is something that every individual or every family is going to live differently, and there's no way to the only advice, I think the only thing we can recommend is if you're going to go through this and you're taking your family with you through this experience, just be very patient. And if you the only thing that you guys can do to prepare for that is just be aware that it's going to happen.
Be very mindful in the case that in our case in my case she's follow me, so she's leaving everything behind.
Hmm.
She's leaving her independence, she's leaving her family, the family that she grew up. And so it's you have to think all that through, because sometimes you get desperate. Why you don't why,
Yeah.
like you feel like why you don't react or why you don't move,
Yeah.
because she's went through all that.
Yeah,
So
in their minds, in their head, they might be going through something that just won't let them act.
mhm.
And I can understand that somehow because, and this is a little bit off topic, but when I'm going through some health issues, so when my health is dwindling, like when my health is I'm having trouble with it, my mind's not right. My
Mm,
mind is just like a fog. I
mhm.
can't think right. And there are things that are usually very simple you just can't function. And so I would imagine it was a very similar. It's not health related, but
Mm-hmm.
it's mind related, where you're going through something very challenging, and it's such a big of a thing that your whole world just flip upside down. So there's no way to understand that other than going through it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we talk about the how it is for the pressure for the family and how it is to tackle those feelings. I mean, I guess the best, we already talk about what that advice will be.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you want to talk about your experience relocating?
Well, the cultural difference that we found is very challenging at the beginning.
All right, hope you like this episode and part number 2 with my conversation with my friend Martin. Yeah, please give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share. Anything you can do to help promote this podcast will be tremendous help. I'm starting out, as you know, trying to grow this platform and bring this content to more people. So if you like this, please share it with your friends and family. Or if you have any suggestion on how to improve, or a content or something you want me to talk about, or somebody that you want me to talk with about their experience, I will really appreciate if you can reach out to me in my social media or the comment section below. All right. Thank you very much, and talk to you later.